Hi guys and welcome. These are some handover videos for your Coachman Laser 665. These are essentially a basic walkthrough on how to set up and operate the caravan. Starting off first, we have your black hitch head just here with black lever that you have to have pulled up so that you can then wind down the jockey wheel onto the tow bar itself. Press down that black handle, it will snap it down, push up that red button and expose green ring. You then have a breakaway cable underneath. Legally it has to be put through an eye point. However, if you don't have an eye point, wrap it around the tow bar. You have your handbrake just here, which you just press up and down to engage and disengage. Then you have 13-pin electric. So if you do have 7-pin adaptation on your car, make sure to bring yourself an adapter. So we're using our test equipment today. So first up, I have a red propane gas bottle with an in-date gas hose connected onto it. Black gas hoses run for 5 years, orange run for 10. That connects onto this regulator just here. Now you can hand tighten that to an extent and then just essentially nip it up using a spanner. There's an O-ring inside the hose itself, so you don't want it too tight as it puts too much pressure on it. Once both sides are firmly connected, twist the gas bottle in the positive or open direction. Coming along the opposing side, starting off first, we have your flue. Your flue is used to get clean air in and out of your boiler. Don't have to do anything with this except make sure it's nice, clean and tidy. You got your water filter just there. And then just here we have an aquarium full of clean drinking water and your water pump. So this locks into place using this part here. So you can have that pulled up and then you can remove this. This is your plug-in. You just press in and then lock on the cap. You have this plastic cap to go over the top of the aquarium hole to make sure no nastiness gets in. And then at the bottom we have your strainer. Now it's crucial that the strainer sits at the bottom of the barrel, as otherwise it can lead to coughs, splutters and gasps of air throughout the system. So always ensure that the aquarium is nice and full and that is set at the bottom of the barrel. Then press in, click it down, can't be removed. Then just here we have your battery locker. This example does have a battery fitted and it uses terminals with 12mm nuts. Then we have your plug-in for your mains. That just slots in nice and easy. Then you have a little cutout to feed the mains lead through. Motor movers will be gone over on collection. And lastly, we have your toilet function. So first up, we have 2 points, which is where your waste water from both your shower and sink will come from. You'll need some 28.5mm waste pipe to then feed into a waste master that you can empty out at the appropriate point on site. Just here, we have your cassette toilet. So to remove this, press up on the orange handle and pull towards you. Now this handle does also extend out and up, so it can be used similar to a carry-on suitcase. Then what you want to do, twist this head to the side, open up that compartment just there. You want to tilt at the same time as tilting, continually pressing this button to vent. My recommendation is to feed it some water afterwards. Give it a good shake and again tilt and vent, just makes it smell a bit nicer. Then on this cap you have measurements in both imperial and metric. That is for your blue chemical. Blue chemical goes back onto there, push it in, twist to the side, push it back so that orange handle sits behind those white teeth. Then just up here we have your flush tank. The flush tank itself can hold 12 litres of water, however I wouldn't recommend putting in any more than 10 as you don't want to overfill the compartment. You can also add a little bit of pink chemical which works as a bleach without being corrosive and makes the toilet smell a bit nicer. Now you don't want to travel with either of these two full, so just up here got a little bung to drain off any remaining water. The caravan itself will be fully drained off when you take it. Then underneath your right hand side seat you have all of this here. So I wouldn't recommend storing anything. First up, got your boiler just here, which you can pull back the panel to do a reset if you ever need to. And the radio. Then just next to the boiler, you can see you have these blue leads leading to that yellow switch valve. That switch valve is currently in the horizontal position, allowing the flow of water to come through. When you switch it up to the vertical position, that will drain off any remaining water inside the system itself. We will leave that in the vertical position when you do come to collect it. You have these two blue boxes on the side, which are essentially your brain boxes for your motor mover. You have your solar panel regulator mounted on the side just there. Don't have to do anything with that, as it all does it automatically. And then pull this down, you have both your trips and fuses. All your trips in the upright position and all your fuses in the correct position. Then just here we have your main control panel, so you can turn this on using this button. So master on, and it allows me to circulate through. So it's currently not 31 minutes after midnight, but you can change that in the additional settings. To enter settings, you press in on this button. Comes up with a few options: display, sound, notification, the firmware that it's currently on, and to save and exit, you press in just here. Next up, this is an onboard tank, so essentially that shows you the percentage of what's full on the tank system. Then you've got the choice of two different pumps, so you can either use external pump or internal pump. So the internal pump is the onboard tank, the external pump is using the Acroll. So you've got the choice, you can either draw it directly from outside or the onboard tank itself. And then water level just there, internal temperature, leisure voltage even, and it's coming up as 13.7. Now, as I'm plugged into mains, that is showing the amount coming from the mains lead. When you only have your battery on, that will show the amount from only the battery. And then you're back to the start. You then have your pump button just here, which I press in, pump off, and then pump on. I have internal lights using this button, so you can see that off and on. And then awning light just here, which I press in, comes off as awning on, and as you can see, awning light on. Now with this, let's say I want to go onto internal pump. You can then just have that selected essentially and use the water that's currently inside the system. So with this, we'll just switch it back over to external. Essentially, that's using the water from outside. That will take it straight to the boiler, and then through the boiler, you can use it from there. What you do afterwards is check your taps. So you open up on both hot and cold. As I've only just begun to draw it through, it is going to be a little bit coughing and spluttery. So what we'll do is have this set up, and we'll wait about 2 to 3 minutes. Whilst I'm waiting for that, I'll show you the Alder wet central heating. Just so you can see here as well, when the tank is being filled, essentially that percentage gauge will gradually increase. Now the tank itself is underneath your left hand side bed here. So it's mounted underneath, and then when you want to drain it off, you have to pull this blue handle up, and that will drain off the water itself. But as it's being drawn through, you'll hear it go and the percentage will come up. Once I press this button in again, it stopped. Press it back in, filling tank. Now as you can see here, a nice steady continuous stream. If there's any coughs or splutters, go outside and check to make sure that the strainer is set at the bottom of the barrel. You have your drain valves in the correct position, and the water pump is essentially, the blue lead is in the correct position as well, and that's not pulled out. But what you want to wait for is about 30 seconds of this stream, then you know it's working. You can also check your other taps as well if you want to ensure that they're working for you. And just here we have your Alder wet central heating. So turn on this panel using this button just here. It will flash up with that information, and then it will come to this screen, which is your home screen. Now the temperature on this may differ to the temperature on that panel. Press in menu, and it will come to this screen here. So first up, you have the internal temperature. So it goes up in 0.5. You can also press and hold the panel and it will gradually go up. Whatever you set it to, it will get to that temperature in around about an hour's time. Then you have that shower icon there. That is for your water heat. So currently the water heater is off. Press it in once, it will go to midway. Midway will get the water temperature to around about 40-50 degrees. And then you have the full. What that does, it prioritizes the water heat over the heating of the actual caravan itself for around about an hour. Once it's had that hour, it will then drop it back down to that capacity. So essentially, heat it up for an hour, get it to about 60 degrees and then drop it back down to the 40 to 50 setting. Then we have your energy sources. So you have mains 1, 2 and 3 kilowatts of capacity, or you have strictly gas or a mixture of gas in 1, 2 and 3. So you've got the choice of either gas mains or a mixture of both. Then just here you have some additional settings. I'm not going to go through these as it is set up to what we believe is the most user-friendly interface to use. However, please have a look inside your book pack if you'd like to know a little bit more. Now, with regards to this panel, if it's not interacted with in a little bit of time, that will essentially mean that it will fade off. However, if I press in this button, it turns it completely off. Now there's no more heating. Then just here we have your hob, grill and oven. All of this operates off gas minus the electric plate. You have a light button just here for inside the oven. For the electric plate, you just spin it to whatever gas mark and it will get to temperature. Everything else you press in on the dial, twist it to the side and then press the igniter. Now it may be a case that when you initially light up the flame, it will light and then fade off. That's normal, that's just the gas making its way through the system, especially if you haven't used it in a little bit of time. So this is what it looks like when they're all lit. As you can see, all your burners nice and lit. Turn it off, back to the central position. Then the same for the grill. As you can see, your grill nice and lit. And finally, your oven. So let me see if I can do this with one hand. And there you can see the oven nice and lit. Only other real thing to note, make sure you travel with your gas bottle off. You can still have your hose on, but make sure the bottle itself is off. And you have to travel with this down, as otherwise it's going to fall over and shatter. But don't put it down until all of those are cold to the touch. And just here we have your Dometic fridge operation. So to turn this on, press and hold in on this middle button. Now it's also a dial. It will flash up and go to its most recent memory. So I press in on the button. First up, I have the amount of power coming into the fridge. So 1 being the minimum, 5 being the maximum. The thicker the bar, the more power coming into the fridge, the quicker it is going to chill. It does take around 4 hours for the fridge to fully chill. Next up, I have to press back in again on the button, and then I twist the dial and I come to the source. So I've either got a choice of auto, gas, mains, which is currently selected by the blue square, or 13-pin electric. That is not leisure battery, that's 13-pin electric. So if I select auto, auto will choose what source it thinks is best, which right now it thinks is mains. However, let's say I switch it to gas. For gas, you'll gradually begin to hear it tick in. Then once it's finished ticking, that means it is then lit. I wouldn't recommend putting on gas until you've checked all of your cooking appliances first, just to ensure the gas is coming through. Then lastly, you have a couple of additional bits. So you have the amount of light, thicker the bar, more light. You have key beep, so essentially when you press something in, it's going to beep at you. Ventilation, so it ventilates across the fridge, and then a fast freeze setting. Select that. It's going to prioritize the freezer a little bit more to ensure that it's freezing up. As you can see as well, when the fridge is on, lights come on there. Now this is a dual operation fridge, so you can open up from either side. However, do not attempt to open up both sides at the same time. as otherwise the door will come off and it's a pain in the bum to put back on. Again, similar to your outer panel, it's not going to stay like this whilst you sleep. It's going to fade off. However, if you want to turn this completely off, press and hold on the middle. You can see no more lights. Then just here we have your toilet operation, which you can say is box simple. Open up the toilet, press in your flush button, and you can hear that motor. That motor is what will push around any water inside the flush tank system itself. Then to remove your waste, press away on that handle, opens up the catch, pull it back towards you and shuts up the catch. When the cassette is full, there'll be a red icon underneath that little cassette to tell you to empty.